My name is Ray Cameron. I graduated from U of T and Sheridan College in theater, and I am a playwright.
Cameron lives in Scarborough. He's been writing plays for the last 5 years.
I love that you can create these situations and characters and story, and that creation.
But when Cameron wants to create, he doesn't do it at home. He drives 40 minutes to a Starbucks in downtown Toronto.
I come down here to be an unknown, to just be one of the crowd with the laptop open and you don't know what I'm doing.
Cameron likes that his work won't be interrupted by people he knows when he's in the city. That's not the only reason why he makes the trip.
It's bad to say perhaps, but you listen to conversations, it helps the dialogue in my script sometimes when, it confirms that the words that my characters say are real. Because sometimes if you're sitting at home on your own in a corner of the room, you forget how people talk.
Cameron is not the first writer to find inspiration in a coffee shop. The first cafes were established in Istanbul in the 15th century. They were spaces where people gathered to talk politics, philosophy, and arts.
A coffee shop is a place historically where people meet to exchange ideas. It's a common ground. If we didn't have places like that people could have as a neutral territory, there'd be a lot less productivity, I think, in the creative world.
Deanna Olson is the founder of Balzac's Coffee. She says it's a modern shop that values these old traditions.
I think what's similar to what we're trying to achieve is that tourists, locals, students, seniors, business people, artists, they can all come together and meet in one place.
You may think that writing is a solitary act, but being surrounded by people is human instinct. It's natural that a social place would stimulate a writer's hand.
We've lived together in groups for basically the entire history of our species. We're not an individual kind of animal. So there's that. We like to be around other people, and we don't feel comfortable when it's odd not to be with other people. You think of the figure of the hermit or the guru, these are people who are either despised or revered, but they're not normal.
Okay, so people like coming to coffee shops to hang out, talk, and hopefully get some work done. But coffee shops don't sell conversations. What about the grande white mocha with extra whip?
When I go to a coffee shop, it's not about the coffee at all. The coffee is merely kind of rent. The drink you're buying is purchasing access to this table. That's what a cafe is these days, really. You rent a space with coffee, and then you sit there and you do your work. What you're renting is power, Wi-Fi, a seat, an atmosphere. It's kind of a co-working arrangement, really.
Tossell writes a tech column for the Globe and Mail. He works in coffee shops alone, and even in groups during meetings with his editors. Like Cameron, he doesn't have an office. Cafes have become their workplace.
The only thing that marks you as a writer, if you haven't published anything or you've only published a few things, is the actual fact of doing the writing. And if you're seen in public doing it and seen by other people, they sort of validate your status, and I think it gives you more motivation, and it gives you the status of being a writer. You can call yourself whatever you want, but until other people see that and kind of validate it and recognize you as that sort of person, it doesn't really mean anything.
Writing inside a coffee shop is visual proof of what you do. It's a way of telling people you're working towards a goal. It also paints a stereotypical picture.
Even in telling other people that I go down to a coffee shop can be, they say, oh, you're just conforming to that cliche. Yeah, so I think definitely people have that image and they like that image, so they live by that image.
That might be a nice image to portray, but what does your word count look like after an afternoon spent in a Starbucks?
I don't think working at a coffee shop has ever actually cured writer's block. It certainly made my day better. But as a writer, you have periods, or at least I have periods, of high efficiency writing where I get a lot done, and then get long stretches of very low efficiency writing where you grind up paragraphs, once an hour. It doesn't really matter to me whether that's in a coffee shop or not, or that's in the house or out of the house. That has more to do with the time of day and the amount of pressure I'm under, frankly. The coffee shop allows you to switch up the scenery and give yourself kind of a breath of fresh air in the middle.
And I mean, going downtown, it proves, you have the hipsters, you have the businessmen, you have the university students studying and stuff like that. And I mean, that mix of culture that happens in a coffee shop is also a good reason to go down there. I mean, when you're writing about reality and about life, you need to be surrounded by life.
So there still isn't a cure for writer's block. But while you're waiting, why not sit down with some jazz music, some strangers, and maybe a nice cup of coffee? It might just brew up something unexpected. For Ryerson TV, this is Shahir Chowdhury.